COJ on Twitter as we are live on these platforms. This is the first of our Mandela Month series, and our discussion today looks at the role of councillors in our communities. The aim really is to rally communities around service delivery agenda and help them understand the roles and the responsibilities of councillors in the service delivery cycle. I am very excited that the radio stations that have committed to partner with us are also here with us this evening. Fellow Joe Beggars, before we get into it, allow me to remind us that this month marks an important month in our annual calendar. In July, South Africa celebrates former President Nelson Mandela's birthday. The 18th of July has been declared Nelson Mandela International Day. But as South Africans, we embrace the chance to celebrate Nelson Mandela's life for the whole month of July. He is the father of moral regeneration. Hence, this month is also known as Moral Regeneration Month. The essence of this month is for all of us to heed the call to recognize our individual power and to make an imprint and change the world around us. It is also Men's Health Month. The purpose of Men's Health is to heighten awareness of preventable health problems and encourage early detection and treatment of disease among men and boys. This month, ladies and gentlemen, gives healthcare providers, public policymakers, the media and individuals an opportunity to encourage men and boys to seek regular medical advice and early treatment for disease and injury. Please be on the lookout of our coming show that will discuss men's health as well. Ladies and gentlemen, in recent weeks, we have seen a rise in protests across the city of Johannesburg. Whilst residents have the right to do so, we believe that protests should not be violent towards our councillors and their families and destructive to government property. In this term of office alone, over 65 councillors and their families have been attacked. This is one too many. Given the nature of the problem, I have been on a drive to create awareness around the work and responsibilities of councillors in our communities. Even as we get into local government election season, we are anticipating that conflict will arise in this area, but we must be constructive in the way that we engage. Once we understand the frustration, there need not to be any loss of life. And I repeat, there need not to be any loss of life. I have therefore put together a panel that will assist us to unpack this discussion and that will educate all of us on the role of councillors in our communities. I am very pleased to introduce the following panel members. We have Councillor Matsidiso Mfikwe, who is the Deputy Chief Whip and Chairperson of Section 79 Oversight Committee for Environment and Infrastructure Services. Councillor Mfikwe will unpack the role of councillors in their communities and what is expected of them as it relates to service delivery. We also, our panelists will show their faces when they are speaking. We also have Councillor Nandi Pazonela, the Chairperson of Section 79 Oversight Committee on Ethics. Councillor Zonela is going to assist us to unpack the ethics and code of conduct that councillors should adhere to. We also have Mr. Stan Itzigetseng, the Deputy Director, Communications and Stakeholder Management Office in the Office of the MMC for Infrastructure, for Environment, Infrastructure and Services Department, EISD. Mr. Stan will assist us in unpacking the state of service delivery protests in Johannesburg and sharing the previous figures, as he is in the office that deals with more service delivery issues like water, electricity, and environment. In our midst, we also have Advocate Duduzo Kumete, who is the ombudsman in the city of Johannesburg, and will be educating us about his office and how they tackle community complaints. I know that he has been in a drive and doing road shows ever since he rejoined the city. To the panel, thank you very much for your presence and welcome to the show. Before I hand over, I'm not sure if Moshe is here already, but I am going to, because he is the co-host, but I'm going to request Ntate Itshegetseng to please paint the scenario for us. Ntate Itshegetseng, please assist us in understanding the main issues of service delivery protests that have taken place. How have they been dealt with? In your discussion, please share how they have affected councillors, as well as some statistics if you have them at hand. If you don't have them, it is also okay. Without waste of time, because we don't have much time, let me hand over to Mr. Itshegetseng.
Madam Speaker, Mr. Itshegetseng is having problems logging in. Perhaps we can move over to Councillor Mfikwe. He's still trying to log in.
All right, I'll do that. I also forgot to mention, especially for our new followers or viewers and our new people who have joined the platform, that we are hosting this platform together with Dr. Fundile Nyati. Doc, forgive me and good evening. And thank you for being here. Councillor Mfikwe, let's move to you. If you could kindly unpack the process of selecting of new ward councillors or new councillors in general, including the PR councillors. And what are the roles and responsibilities of councillors in our communities, particularly ward councillors? Chairperson,
good evening, Madam Speaker. I'm just greeting, and I'm going to ask to close my camera. Let me acknowledge Councillor Nandi Pazonella, acknowledge you, Madam Speaker, acknowledge the dog, acknowledge advocate, acknowledge the officials that are supporting you and the listeners from Joseph FM and other radio stations that have logged in or are listening, and all our Facebook followers. So I was just doing the acknowledgements. Can I switch off the camera now so that I save some of my bandwidth? Hey, English, yes, Madam Speaker. And greeting everybody. I see Eldos FM just joined now. Oh, okay. I almost muted myself when I wanted to switch off the camera. Madam Speaker, when we go through a process of appointing councillors, different political structures will have their own internal processes. Branches of different parties will appoint their people, do interviews in an attempt of seeking out best representatives of councillors. That is done outside the council process. Then elections happen, then people will vote. So when people vote, they would have voted for Matsidiso. What then is the role of Matsidiso in council? Firstly, Matsidiso must provide leadership and guidance to the community. The community is electing this particular individual so that the person, one, facilitates communication between the communities and council. Basically, this means that Matsidiso as the ward councillor or even the PR councillor, I'll talk about the difference at a later stage. These people are representing communities, most of our ward councillors that have elected them. So it is important for councillors to understand that quarterly, after 3 council meetings, they must call a public meeting and report to their communities about what happened in the council, what decisions was taken in the council, whether they affect them or not. But they need to ensure that there is communication between them and council. So part of that is done through councillors attending to meetings of council, ensuring that they are there to respond to challenges and issues that the community might be raising, whether it's issues of service delivery or issues of concern. They must including attend events that have been arranged by local government itself. Madam Speaker, you do your own events, your IDP, your CBPs, and all those events. Councillors must attend because they are representing their communities. Importantly, councillors must ensure that there is an open communication between them and their communities. Another important role that councillors are doing on behalf of their communities, Madam Speaker, is to determine policy that council needs to understand and adopt. Because policy responds to different challenges that our communities would have. Firstly, policy would respond to an assessment that would have been made on the community needs, assisting in identifying priorities for our communities, including the allocation of the budget to those priorities that would have been identified through the processes. Your IDP is a process, is a policy process, your CBPs and any other process that says councillors must participate to resolve some of the challenges that their communities are experiencing. Another important role for councillors, Madam Speaker, is to ensure that there is future planning. And future planning is done through two processes. One is the development of a long-term strategy. In the city, we have the GDS 2040. There were sessions that were held, and every 5 years, the GDS 2040 needs to be assessed. That includes part of community involvement of some sort. An important process that the speaker runs, that councillors need to mobilize their communities to undertake, is the development of the IDP, the 5-year IDP, and yearly review of that IDP. So this is a critical point that I would really like your followers and people that are listening in to make sure that they also participate as and when through councillors, the speaker calls us to participate in these sessions, because through the IDP, we are able to determine what is it that the city or the municipality need to implement over a period of 5 years. Of course, it's reviewed every year. Part of what is important that councillors need to facilitate as well is the review of policy. We plan for the future, so we need to review policy that is taking us to that future. So over a period of time, if followers, Madam Speaker, we did have a session also where we're talking with you about development of bylaws. Bylaws would be part of the policies that the municipality needs to implement. So that process is taken through participation of communities, so councillors need to assist as well in ensuring that communities do participate in the review of policies. We did, on the department that I'm deployed in, a review and updating of an energy electricity policy, including waste management policy. I know Councillor Rapadu is busy now with 2 economic development policies that are going to be turned into the bylaws. Also, public safety wise also had put for public consultation a policy on the cameras that we are having in the city. So what is important is that councillors need to be informed, and then being informed, they will be informed through attending meetings. One is attending the council meeting that the speaker will call every month, attending portfolio committee meetings that the chairpersons of the respective portfolio committee meetings will attend. There would be activities and sessions where councillors are called either by the speaker or the executive mayor for them to be able to remain informed. So councillors must attend those meetings. Those are statutory meetings that they have to attend, that are going to assist them in making sure that they are informed and they can share the information with their communities. A critical point in the functioning of a councillor, Madam Speaker and colleagues, is that councillors need to be aware of local issues all the time. Because remember, councillors represent the community. So councillor for Ward 22, which is my ward, need to be able to understand what is happening in the ward. What is it that communities are raising, where either individually or collectively? Because some of those issues would need to be brought to the attention of council and resolved resolved by council itself. Some of the resolutions will come through the reports that are going to council, and they bring in solutions to some of those challenges. Councillors need to be able to do follow-up on challenges. As you were saying, Madam Speaker, councillors are not responsible for implementing anything. The administration in the city, in government, whether provincially, nationally, and regionally, are responsible for the implementation. But the councillors are responsible for bringing to the attention of these administrators, Sarona, the issues that are affecting communities, so that as and when there are problems, street lights are not working. In our case, City Power must be informed so that they are responding to the street lights. There are potholes on our streets. JRA must be informed. That is where also you have to have a ward committee that is given particular tasks to advise the councillor on some of these issues that the councillor needs to be aware of. So following up on problems of the community does not mean that the councillor then is responsible for resolving those problems that would be able to be that needs to be resolved. The councillors are accountable to the communities, Madam Speaker, another critical point. So accountability to the communities does not mean that councillors must be harassed, does not mean that councillors must be abused, does not mean that councillors must take responsibility, even for things that are not necessarily within their area of jurisdiction, within point of areas that are of national government jurisdiction, or if, I mean, councillors, people would want to hold councillors if they called the police and SAPS did not come when we are not working with the SAPS. So accountability is on the things that the councillor has informed communities that they will be done. Holding councillors accountability should be on processes that are done by the city council, not on some other processes that we don't have access to ourselves. So what is important also, the councillors must facilitate public access to information for their constituencies. That remains a critical point. Another important point is that as councillors, we need to declare our own financial interests so that the records in the city will be kept. There's one that is private and another one that is made public. So in the public one, that is where councillors will need to declare whether they have businesses, what are they doing in their businesses, if their businesses are doing business with the city, which is not allowed, so that at least when communities are saying, hey, Tidu ka gona le company, Mfikwe and company, ke bona ba etsang diterata ko Pimville, then they can get into the system and check if I had declared.
Let me cut you now, Councillor Mfikwe. I know you are very passionate on this. I just want to, so that we can have ample time. You'll come back because you will come back and conclude. If you could just conclude on that, sorry. Yes. Conclude, Councillor Mfikwe.
That's part of the responsibilities of councillors and what we can hold them accountable on, Madam Speaker. My notes are having too many things because I've at least your team gave me enough time to do some research, including what I know, but there are others that I would want to share with our followers and our listeners. We will do that when you give me another chance. For now, let me hold it there. Thank you very much, ma.
All right, thank you very much, Deputy Chief Whip, Councillor Mfikwe. Now, without further ado, let me hand over to my co-host. I see he is here now, Josie FM. Over to you, Mr. Mushe.
Thank you so much.
I know you are pressed for time. I'm not sure until what time are you with us?
Yeah, I'm gonna be with you just up after 7:05 this evening. But I would also like to engage mainly the Ombudsman of the City of Johannesburg, Advocate Duduzo Gumede. Advocate, thank you so much for joining us as well on this special broadcast. I just want you to give us just an overview of the work that is done by your office. Maybe give us an idea of some of the complaints that you receive and how your office resolves them, so that we give an understanding to our Joseph and family member on the work done by your office. Advocate? I can see he's part of the meeting, but he's muted.
Please unmute yourself, Advocate Gumede.
Hello, I'm back. Sorry, I got disconnected.
Okay, Advocate, thank you so much. You can.
I'm back. Can you hear me?
I can hear you,
Yes.
Advocate. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay. The Office of the Ombudsman basically investigates, in the main, it's individual complaints. So it's a household that comes to the Office of the Ombudsman. It is a household. It doesn't have to be only a household. It can also be a community, but we've tended to deal mainly with households. So individual households that is experiencing problems with service delivery, could be water, it could be electricity, it could be any issue in Johannesburg. It's important. Councillor Mfigo spoke about jurisdiction. It's a very important concept because we can only deal with issues that come from the city of Johannesburg, right? So and it's important for listeners to understand that they must, if they have a problem with any aspect of service delivery in the city, first they must report it to the city. They must go to a regional office and report the issue. It is only when the city has been given an opportunity to do so and it fails to resolve the issue, okay, that you can escalate to the Office of the Ombudsman. Because we say the Office of the Ombudsman is an office of last instance, right? Because clearly, I mean, the office is small. It cannot, the city is big. It cannot be an office of first instance. Give the city the opportunity to resolve your problem. If you still have problems, the city is not helping you, you can come to us, we'll look at it and we'll see if it is within the jurisdiction of the Office of the Ombudsman. But you ask me, what kinds of issues do we look at? We look at, in the main, the issues that have been around billing. In my experience, it's been billing. The bill that the city has sent me is incorrect. It is, the amounts are inflated. I wasn't consuming so much of the service, for example, and sometimes things can be explained. In fact, very often things can be explained. I have found that, before 1994, Black people couldn't own land, okay? After 1994, people could own land, but that comes with many responsibilities. In the past, the municipality was our landlord and we paid rental, and if the window broke or if there was a water leak, we would just report it to the municipality and the municipality would come and fix things. Now, with the transfer of land, it comes with certain responsibilities. Those issues then some of them become our issues. We must now find our own water leak expert. If you have a water leak, you must go find your own person to investigate this thing. So we investigate things like that. Somebody will say, there's no way I've consumed so much electricity, or there's no way I've consumed so much water in the period that the city says I have. Ombudsman, please help me investigate this issue. So that, in the main, will be the issues that the Ombudsman deals with. There are others. I mean, there are issues of social cohesion, but those are bigger issues of human rights. We've had an explosion of people, or an influx rather, of people coming from all over the continent to live in South Africa in search of opportunities. It creates all manner of problems in communities. And those are issues that the Office of the Ombudsman helps in facilitating social cohesion between people who live in Johannesburg.
Mhm. Advocate, I don't know, there are those maybe who are not aware of the work that is done by the office. What campaigns do you embark upon in terms of popularizing what you do within the community? I know the office has been there for quite a while, but take us through some of the work now, sort of reigniting what you do as an office.
Okay, I must just say that to listeners that it is true that I was there when the office was started. In fact, I started the office in 2015, but I left. I've come back. I left in 2017. I started again now in May. And what I see as being an important thing is outreach. Go out, tell the people about the work of the Office of the Ombudsman. How can the Ombudsman help people the people of Johannesburg. That is what we are doing now. We are going, basically, we're going to be all over the city, COVID restrictions permitting, but we're going to be all over the city talking about the work of the Ombudsman, bringing basically democracy and accountability to the people. We have just launched, I think it was a week or so ago, a program called the Ambassadors of the Office of the Ombudsman. This Ambassadors of the Office of the Ombudsman program means that every regional office of the city of Johannesburg, so the city of Johannesburg has 7 regions, every regional office will have at least 2 or 3 people representing the Office of the Ombudsman, talking to people about the work that we do, helping them complete complaints forms, and taking them back to the center. I say the center being Braamfontein, where we are based as an office. So we are going to be rotating, doing outreach almost every week, talking about the work that we do. Hopefully that will help educate the people in terms of what opportunities there are for them to air their grievance. Earlier on, the speaker spoke about a lot of discontent in the community. There's unhappiness in the community. This platform helps to channel that discontent. Okay, there are many ways. There are petitions, there's a petitions office, but we deal with, as I said, a part of that. To process discontent, come, tell us what issues you have with the city of Johannesburg, and let's see how we can assist you to resolve those issues. Because often the administration is big. I always say this, it is big. As an individual with a problem, it's difficult for you to access the administration. But with an ombudsman, you have a friend, you have somebody on the inside who will help you take your matter to the highest levels of the administration and hopefully get resolution.
Advocate, just before I let you go, maybe you can also share how community members can lodge complaints in your office and the turnaround time. If you have received a complaint from a resident, how long does it take for the office to process that? Because I saw a tweet on one of our family members saying that the office delays in responding to complaints. So I need us to address that particular issue as a closing remarks.
Yes. Okay. Issues will vary. Okay. There are issues that can be resolved very quickly. There are issues that by definition will take time to resolve, okay? But we have our standard operating procedure. We say that when we receive a complaint today, we will communicate with you about whether or not we are going to accept this complaint. In other words, it falls within our jurisdiction. We will tell you that within a week you will know whether it's a complaint that we will be investigating or it's a complaint that falls outside of our jurisdiction and about which we can do nothing. Maybe we can point you in the right directions. That we can do. But if it's not within jurisdiction, it is not within jurisdiction. There are complaints where we only need to pick up a phone and phone someone within revenue or within any department of the city, and the matter may be resolved, okay, within a matter of days. But there are other problems, unfortunately, that need time. So we generally undertake to resolve complaints within 6 months, okay? I'm talking now complex complaints. So within 6 months, we should resolve your issue. I do know that we haven't always succeeded, but that's the commitment we are making to the people of Johannesburg.
Advocate Duduzo Gumede, Ombudsman of the City of Johannesburg, welcome back and wish you all the best with your work with the residents of the city on the ground. And Madam Speaker, I think that's where we leave it for this evening on our side. Thank you so much for joining us as well this evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. That's where we'll conclude this evening with the City of Johannesburg. I think the Madam Speaker will continue on the other side of things. All right, it's 10 minutes gone after the hour, 7 o'clock right here on the discussion. If you
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for tuning us as your number one dial Simunye Inkomo policy gives you a cow and
Thank you
goes
very
up
much,
slowly with
Moshe.
cream
Thank you
and
very
has a
much
6 months waiting period
to
with
your
no joining
listeners.
fee.
Okay, Moshe is gone now. Thank you very much to Josie FM and thank you very much to the listeners. We hope to be with you as we have been doing every week. I'm not sure if Mr. Itcheketseng is now connected. Is he connected, Ntlaga and the team?
I'm here.
Yes, ma'am, he's connected.
Yes, thank you very much. Ntate Itcheketseng, thank you very much for connecting. We requested you to kindly assist us in understanding what are the major service delivery protests that have taken place and how have they been dealt with. In your discussion, please share the statistics if you are able to. So we are posing this question to you as the Deputy Director in the office that deals with core service delivery issues. You are always on the street with the MMC. We have seen you. If you could just share that for us before we go to Nandipa and then we go to our listeners. I see our followers are itchy. They want to participate.
Okay. Let me thank the privilege afforded to me by the Office of the Speaker to come in and have a discussion on this critical thing. Maybe, Madam Speaker, before we do so, we need to do a quick definition between a number of things. There is what we call a boycott, there is what we call a demonstration, and there is what we call a protest. Sometimes we loosely use these things to be reflecting one thing. In my understanding is that a boycott would mean to engage in a concerted refusal to have dealings with a person or an organization or the city in a context of the municipality here. And that is usually to express disapproval or to force an acceptance of certain conditions by boycotting, whatever services we're supposed to be rendering. There's also what you call a demonstration, which is generally a public meeting or a march going to a particular entity to protest against something or to express particular views on a political issue or a service delivery issue. Then we have a protest, which is a statement or action expressing disapproval and or objection to something. Now, in the city, we don't have currently, and this is forcing us to zoom into that going forward, that we need to always categorize these things and save them as such. So we don't have a pure stats of the number of protests, demonstration, boycotts within the city, but we're able to relate. I mean, for example, in a lot of hostels in the city, every time there is a electricity issue, there will be a disruption, there will be a protest or a demonstration. There's never really been a boycott in this administration. In fact, in certain entities, for example, Pick It Up has never had a protest, demonstration, or a boycott in this current administration that has taken over from the Purple Brigade. But it does not mean that there are no sticky issues that people are raising on a continuous basis. When we had problems with COVID, people would complain that being in my area was not taken. Is that a protest? No, I don't think it's a protest. It's merely an issue that has been raised by the community around the fact that a bin has not been taken. And then when we act in speed to respond to these things, we then mitigate either the protest or a demonstration or whatever you are. But in other instances, on the electricity issue, for example, there has been a number of boycotts or a number of protests that are taking place. And these protests could be either from the fact that there has not been electricity in a particular area for a sustained period of time, and there seems to be a snail pace in resolving the issue. And the frustration of the people is to go to the streets. And there's been many of these sort of things, and sometimes to go to councillors' houses to demand that the councillor should be able to provide them. And it's worse when the councillor has these amenities, but the community does not have. So when you don't have, it's easy to say, but I don't have as well. We could as well make a joint protest demonstration to go and express our dissatisfaction around this thing. But this matter is also made complex by the fact that we have city power, we have ESCOM. When there is a protest, sometimes it's not a protest to the city, it's a protest to ESCOM as a national entity that is supposed to be rendering services somewhere. However, it's happening within our jurisdiction. And maybe that is why our stats collection of the number of boycotts we're having has not been that much. But what I can assure you is that in this financial year, we've never had a picking up boycott. We've had a number of grumblings and a number of people that comes in to present petitions. And you can say those are merely protests that want to express a disapproval of an action that is happening in a particular area. And together with, especially, Councillor Tsidi Mfikwe, I've listened to him talking to what councillors should do, has been on the ball, on the ground, and we've been addressing some of these things, albeit at a problem. And these things are caused by the fact that our partners, ESCOM in this particular instance, is very slow or sometimes seems to be not having an interest of speedily resolving the issue. Where city power is concerned, it's around the areas of Sandton and so forth. We always go, we engage the community when there is an issue of disruptions of electricity in those areas. And I must tell you, Madam Speaker, and all the listeners that have tuned in here today, we've not had much. I mean, you struggle to even remember where is it there where we had disruptions. Alexander, we had 2 or 3, we've been there, we've addressed the community, we've spoken with city power, we had a plan to mitigate these sort of things. We work with the community, and the community, if you brief them and update them and they understand what is the issues, it assists in mitigating these particular disruptions. We've had disruptions in the areas that were, previously exclusively defined to be colored areas around El Dorado Park and so forth. And even there, we went quickly to address the people. And you sometimes even the media does not pick up that there was a protest at a given point in time, because we've been there to go and engage the communities in those respective areas. Around Joburg Water, we had sometimes protests that cannot be called formal protest, because it's not a formalized grouping. It's merely people deciding that we're not making a payment, we're not doing anything around those sort of things. We would have meetings with them and engage them. So MMC, the source of boycotts is normally a dissatisfaction that people are receiving for us not being able to give them a particular service. But of course, to respond and mitigate is if you go to them and be able to address them. We know in the past, the previous administration was not listening to people. And this current administration is going to the people, is listening to them, and therefore there is little, if no disruptions, boycotts, or demonstration at all. We've got a few areas where people are burning streets, and these are still happening around the hostels. These are happening around small little corner communities where, for example, there has not been a transformer attended for over a sustained period of time. But I believe that if we have an open, welcoming, and listening government or municipality, we will go a long way in mitigating these sort of things. And we need to create a situation where we have regular imbizos with members of the community. And that would assist both councillors, MMCs, the mayor, and the speaker's office. And I also think that the availability of a communication vehicle that the speaker's office is having to drive around the community and talk to service delivery issues, pertinent COVID-19 issues, has gone a long way in assisting the mitigation of disruptions, boycotts, and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Itsheketseng. I know you are in a very big department, so the time allocated to you might not be fair. But because we don't have much time, thank you very much for that information. Councillor Zonela, I see on the chat box, there is someone who says city DC processes are very slow. So now that we have you now on the line, please share the ethics and code of conduct for councillors that councillors should adhere to, and what process are done to make sure rules stated on the conduct are followed. If they are not, what is the process of punishment? Most people don't even are not even aware that there is a DC process in the city. But I'm happy that there is one of our followers who is saying the DC process is very slow. So it means some of our people do know that there is this process. Can you please take us through the process?
Good evening, Madam Speaker, and the participants and the viewers at home. Please forgive me, my voice is not 100%. I'm still recovering from the big flu. I will, as I speak, I will touch on the issue of the slow process or the turnaround time of completing. I don't know, Speaker, am I supposed to be on video?
Yes, you can just show your face and maybe disconnect your video if you have a bandwidth problem. Just for our viewers and listeners to see who is speaking. Who is the chairperson of ethics?
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Speaker and everybody. I will touch up on the issue of the turnaround time, because it is also an issue that as a committee we are also concerned about. As you know, that what they say that justice delayed is sometimes justice denied. Look, the part of the responsibility of government is to ensure that we set up structures that would ensure that there is greater accountability in government and there is greater participation of communities. And that has to be done by ensuring that when you set up those structures, like the Ethics and Disciplinary Committee of Council is one of those structures. There is also the city's disciplinary board that deals with the employees and the officials of the city. So these are some of the structures that the city has set up, has put up in place to ensure that there is greater accountability, there is partnership and participation of communities. So what we really do as the ethics committee is to interface between government and the communities. Now, in terms of ethics, the communities themselves need to ensure that they own government. And I think that is an important point that we have got to make, that government does not belong to the people that are elected. The people that are elected are merely the representatives of the people, but government belongs to communities. And therefore, from an ethical point of view, communities themselves must be the ones that set the tone, the ethical tone of the city. They must be the ones that will set the tone in terms of the kind of leadership that we have. How do you ensure that you drive good governance? How do you ensure that you drive organizational integrity? So all those things can only be done and achieved if there is greater and stronger community participation. And I know that traditionally you would think, when you think about community participation, you would have to think about public meetings. But we have since evolved for different reasons, that there is now greater technological advancements that are being made, that councillors need to take into consideration in how they communicate with communities. 10 years ago, there would not have been virtual meetings. It was something that was there that was reserved probably for high-flying executive or boardroom people. But today, because there's technological advancement, people's lives are changing, people are becoming much more mobile, and there is greater access to technology. People now communicate on the move, and we have got to embrace technology as well as a platform of communication to ensure that we are able to communicate with people at different levels. So what I'm trying to say, Speaker, is that part of the problem that we have is that society has said there is a lot of maladministration that is happening. There is a lot of corruption. There is a lot of bullying that we are experiencing from government representatives, and we have nowhere to speak to. We do not know where to go. But there are avenues, there are platforms. So the Ethics and Disciplinary Committee deals specifically with matters of code of conduct and discipline of councillors, because councillors, like any other sector, they are also regulated. There is a code of conduct that deals with how they deliver services to communities. I saw in the group that somebody is writing there that the councillor is gatekeeping membership and they are not allowing other people to get. These are the things that have got to come, because a councillor is a councillor of the community across the board. It is not a councillor of a particular political party. So when you are elected as a councillor, you have got to serve your community with integrity. You have got to ensure that you just don't discriminate against anybody based on their color of their skin, based on their gender, based on their political preferences or their political views, or whatsoever way that you can think of that you discriminate against people. So when communities feel that they are being discriminated or they are being underserviced by a councillor, they have got a right to approach the office of the Speaker and say, Speaker, I feel that Councillor Zonela has trampled on my rights or has discriminated against me, as has not allowed me to receive a government service because I am gay, or because I am white, or because I am too short, you know. So that is where the code of conduct comes in. But there is a point that I want to speak on, Madam Speaker, about the role of councillors. Like I said, that councillors sometimes in their nature, because of the nature of the work that they do, and because they are the sphere of government that is closest to the people, they sometimes unfairly have to carry all the problems of government. In a normal day, for instance, policing is not as a competency of local government. But when the local police station is giving communities problems, the first door that communities knock on is the councillor's door. When the clinic does not service the communities the way they feel that they should be serviced, the first door that they will knock on, it will be the door of the councillor. This also goes with issues of employment opportunities. We live in a society where there is scarcity of resources and there is high unemployment rate. When projects come to communities, they belong to communities, but councillors have got very or little or limited responsibility in terms of the management, the actual micromanagement of a project, starting with who gets to be employed and what is the process and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, you will find that communities, when they don't get the employment opportunity, they will take it to the door of the ward councillor because they believe that the councillor is the one that is responsible for those opportunities. So councillors don't manage projects. They don't even manage the employment. There is a policy of the city that regulates how councillors or CLOs, I think I want to speak about issues that we deal with on a daily basis. How CLOs get employed and how the advertising happens. The role of the councillor starts and begins when the councillor comes to the community and say, there is a project that is coming for implementation of a fiber system in the community. There is going to be companies that are employed, that are going to be appointed by the city. And once those companies are appointed, the councillor comes and introduces those people. The city starts the process of looking for CLOs. The people submit their forms there. The councillor doesn't even sit in on the interviews. So once the city's ward governance has gone through the interviews of the CLO, then there's an appointment. Then the councillor comes to the public meeting and say, here is a person that has been employed who is now the CLO of the project, and the councillor walks away. The councillor can speak broadly and say in council that we want to talk about issues of local economic development, want to talk about issues of beneficiation, want to ensure that when projects come to communities, at least people that are living in those communities are employed. Those are the things that the councillor can advocate for. But the councillor cannot come to your house and say, you are the one that is going to be employed. And I think this is something that, Madam Speaker, we have got to speak about and have a conversation about, because when councillors do make those kind of interventions, they can actually lose their jobs. It is actually an offense. It is not allowed. But you will then find unique situations where councillors have had conversations with the community to say, the ward is very big. There's 26,000 residents that are living in this area. How do we ensure that when there is development, it is spread across the ward? There will be, in other areas, there will be Fudua processes. In other areas, there will be processes of, okay, if there is going to be a 6 months cleaning program, we will Fudua, and then we will have this group come in. In the next 6 months, we will have another group. These are the interventions that councillors are making to try to ensure that they service and they service the communities equally. But sometimes when people are not satisfied, then the problem starts. Then they come to council, they come and report those people. Now, and it is important that communities must report them if they feel that they are violated, if they feel that they are underserviced or their rights are violated. Now, in terms of processes, Madam Speaker, as I'm about to conclude, the process, yes, it is long. It is a long process because we also work with the Office of the Integrity Commissioner. The Integrity Commissioner is a support system to the Ethics and Disciplinary Committee, because remember, from the time that the ethics, the matter is reported, it must then be processed through the processes of council, then it must come into the committee. When the committee sits, it must consider the report, then it must decide if it wants to conduct the investigation on its own, depending on the magnitude and the length of the process. Sometimes the committee members have to go out to the communities and actually meet with the people. Sometimes the councillors themselves feel that they don't have enough capacity to conduct the investigation themselves, and they give it to the Office of the Integrity Commission, and it takes long. I agree. It takes long, and it is something that we must have a conversation about. But part of what we were saying was that maybe we have got to amend the rules of council to say how long should it be when between the process, the time when the issue is reported and the time that the report goes to council. So in terms of what happens when the investigation is concluded, the report is then tabled to council, and with the recommendations of the committee. Sometimes it could be the sanctions comes, and I'm talking from a situation of where there is a violation and it's confirmed. And depending on the magnitude of the violation, the committee then can propose a sanction to council. It starts from suspension, a reprimand, or an apology, or depending on the circumstances of the case, and sometimes it goes to a level of dismissal. So once the council has endorsed that report, then the report goes to the MMC, to the MEC of COCTA, and the MEC of COCTA can look at the report, read the report, and decide if he wants to endorse the decision of council, or he wants to overturn the decision of council, or sometimes feel that the council was too lenient, the violation was too much, the committee was too lenient, or the council was too lenient, and therefore propose a even greater a sanction for the councillor. So the point I'm trying to make, Madam Speaker, is that there are avenues that are there. There are structures of good governance. There are structures of ensuring that there is accountability, there's greater transparency. But the ethics committee, I want to emphasize this. It is not a committee that is supposed to be a punitive committee. It is not a punitive committee, but it is a committee that ensures that there is accountability and there is growth and there is development and there is teaching and there is training. So sometimes when we see that there is a certain level of violation that is there, but you look at the mitigating circumstances and then you say, maybe let us take this councillor specific training so that we also can not lose that greater person, but instead we are strengthening the capacity of the councillor to be able to service the communities. But the point that is of emphasis is that governance is a partnership between the people and those that they have elected to represent them. It is not just a matter of we have then elected a representative and therefore that representative must do everything on their own. A councillor cannot be everywhere. It is through community participation, through community involvement, and through community advices that the councillors can be able to service their communities in the greater way. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. In Xhosa bathi xesha liluchaba. What an empowering information from our panelists. Before I call upon Councillor Mfikwe to finish up what she was saying and also talk on the role of ward committees. You spoke about the fact that councillors cannot be everywhere. So Councillor Mfikwe will also touch on the ward committees. But before that, I see our people, our followers are really engaging on this topic. So this is a very important topic. I have seen quite a number of chats that are coming in. May I then request either Sifiso or Mbali just to take us through a few chats. I see there are 45 chats. You might not be able to read all the 45, but so that our panelists can respond. And after that, before Councillor Mfikwe, Doc, before you are a co-host of this show, you are also a citizen. I remember the other day you called me saying that you have some electricity connection problems. So the people for service delivery are here. We have Mr. Itsekhetseng. We also have Councillor Mfikwe, who is the chairperson of the committee. So let us get what our viewers are saying, and then Doc, and after Doc, then I will allow our panelists.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. It's a very interesting topic that's being discussed today, and the comments are lashing in. People are so interested in today's topic. The few comments I'll read due to time is that we, from Sipo Kumeta says, we need more time on the topic Comrade Sidi presented. So they're really interested in Comrade Sidi's presentation. And we are glad that Advocate Duduzo is back. We are looking forward to be assisted by your office as citizens of Joburg. Another comment coming in, please also be clear about community budget. That goes with the role and responsibilities of councillors. Another comment is that councillors need to have plans and vision to drive the community so that their roles and responsibilities can be achieved. Another comment, which I'll read, two more comments I'll be reading. One is dedicated to Councillor Zolega. It comes from one of the listeners. It says, what are you present? Okay. Can you please tell us more based on the ethics and conduct? How can they be enforced to the councillors? And then another message here, Madam Speaker. It says, what should we do as a community if councillors is not calling community meetings and also not engaging with the community of updating the community with the matters related to the community which has been faced? So those are the few comments that I'll be reading for now, Madam Speaker. Thank you so much.
So perhaps you can also look at the comments on the chat, Madam Speaker, if you can allow him to do so quickly.
Yes.
Just a few, Sfiso.
Thank you so much. The comments which are coming from the chat, it says, let me see. So if one of us want to engage and learn more about the office of the ombudsman, how can we do so? And another message from the chat, it says, I feel that we are also failing to manage the intergovernmental relations, and that causes a lot of disturbance, and that's why our councillors cannot do their work, because we are interfering with them. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sfiso, and thank you to our listeners and followers. Doc, do you want to say a word or two?
All right, now I'm not talking as a host or co-host. I think one is talking as a citizen of this great city. I think there's been a few cases that come to one's attention, and the one that I phoned you about related to one of the citizens. He had just moved into a house, and this person had paid all the dues to the municipality. However, due to some administrative issues, there was something reflecting that he is still owing some monies. That is the person who was there before him. But the issue was corrupt utility personnel who demanded a bribe from this particular, citizen to say, whilst we can see that you are current with the payments, but for us, in our list, you are not. And we are going to switch off your electricity unless you give us a jojo of 3,500. And indeed, when he said, I am not going to do that, they cut him off. And for the whole week, he had no electricity. Yet it was an administrative problem of the city. Such issues of abuse of power by employees of the utilities that belong to the city is unacceptable. But I think also on the issue of the Ombuds office, I had 6 months turnaround time. I think there must be a way of categorizing complaints, to those that can be dealt with short term, medium term, and long term being 6 months. But, if you've got an issue that may be resolved within a week, let that be, So I think rather than talking about 6 months resolution of problems, I think they need to find a way of actually categorizing complaints so that people's expectations can be better managed.
Thank you very much, Doc. Thank you very much. I'm sure the team will comment on that and on that frustration and that corrupt activity. Ntaka, can you take 3 minutes as well, just to go through the chat, so that the online chats, so that our people don't say that they are participating and we are not entertaining their views.
Okay, sure, Madam Speaker. So I'll quickly go through them. Let's start with Miriam. She says, our main issue is ESCOM. We have 2 years we thought electricity at Sinawana. Can you please assist? Oh, I think she's trying to say we have 2 years without electricity at Sinawana. Can you please assist? Sibongile Chakaza says, councillor is gatekeeping members in good standing to vote for councillor and PR candidates. We want a fair election process in Ward 47. Ebi Inambi says, who do we speak to regarding street lights in the city? And then there's one that says, how do we hold errant councillors to account? City disciplinary processes are very slow. More than 2 years ago, Jeffries made a demanding finding against the councillor of Ward 58. To date, neither his party nor the councillor have disciplined him. Let me quickly take Jabulani. The main challenge is that those who are protesting in an illegal way are not brought to book, and they keep on attacking councillors. Tolagele Ngozi says, mine is a comment. Kindly intensify civic education to separate a city from national government, people are still colonized mentally. They still believe that the city must fix their houses. They get the purpose of the title deed. Even Metro Police must always protect these public representatives and guard our parks, and our parks are vandalized. We need to decolonize the mind of our people. Huawei P20 Lite says, I am worried about how bylaws are not enforced. You would see a person extending his or her yard to that of municipalities and nothing happens. Tolagele Ngozi, I suggest that the information must be included in the invoice letter to educate the community. Okay, let me take the last two, Madam Speaker. David Mokoni says, we understand that the councillor is the councillor for the community. I respect of what irrespective of what political party he or she is. What is supposed to happen when you experience that the councillor is serving people that are belonging to his or her political parties? Let me take just randomly one last one. Maybe let's do okay, let's do Joy Govender. This is an awesome platform to air our views. My name is Joy Govender, the chairperson of LSRA. I'm not sure what that stands for. Having a councillor to assist us is great. However, Ward 120 councillor has too much on her hands, as she has inherited a ward with very many service delivery issues. And she goes on to say, so in terms of service delivery, the councillor of Ward 120 doesn't get any assistance from any heads of the different service delivery departments. I can openly state this as I assist with service delivery issues in this ward, and it is a nightmare. Maybe let me just leave it there for now in the interest of time, Madam Speaker. We're welcome to read, we're welcome to read more. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I must say that this session is being recorded, so we shall also look at some of the comments. We have 20 minutes, and I want to spread this 20 minutes through to our panelists. Councillor Mfikwe, your parting shot, and also just to respond on some of the issues where you can.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. For comments that were asking what should be done with the councillor that is not performing, we have the chief whip of council. Then there are, each party has its own whip. I am the deputy chief whip of the chief whip, but I'm responsible mainly for ANC councillors. So for ANC councillor related issues, I guess they could be sent to me. Also, the speaker, she is the overarching person responsible for all councillors. So between the speaker and the chief whip, general queries about councillors could go there, but party specific, me responsible for the ANC, the DA does have their own whip, including the EFF, including the other small parties in council. So those issues could be sent there so that the party representatives are able to deal with their members respectively. That's one. Two, I've also looked, Madam Speaker, into some of the issues, these ESCOM related issues. I'm going to ask, I imagine the people that are in the platform do have contact details, either of the team of the speaker, or some I see there are people that I know could send them directly to me so that we are able to elevate them to ESCOM. What I would want the people that are raising ESCOM related transformer mini-sub issues to know is that ESCOM currently reports that they don't have excess transformers. I see there was a comment about Ward 10. I saw there was also the comment that I read about 2 years not having electricity. ESCOM says to us, we are not responsible for ESCOM as the city of Joburg, including with our councillors, but we interact with ESCOM on behalf of our communities. They are reporting to us that they do not have transformers. They do not have mini-subs. For Gauteng, collectively, being Joburg, Ekurhuleni, Tshwane, and other Gauteng have about 12 municipalities. They need to give almost 400 transformers, and we are part of that 400. So as and when they get, then they will give us. So we are still going to say it's a challenge that ESCOM has. Our people, can they please be patient as we travel with them this journey of making sure that they do get their transformers. On the issues that Dr. Nyati was raising, Madam Speaker, I agree with him. Sorry. I'm going to ask if the person still has the same issues, that through you bring them to our attention so that you are able to deal with them between myself and Stan, you know, and we resolve those issues for our communities. That is what we do. Advocate Gumede does the same. We're doing it maybe with a political flair. He is doing it administratively. We don't know how many service delivery issues that we are dealing, even you, Madam Speaker, are dealing with. But given anything, as I close, councillors have a responsibility to make sure that governance is done and it's done ethically. That means that they must promote and support good governance, as Councillor Zonela was saying. They must promote and ensure that government is done openly and in a transparent manner. Also, to ensure that they do support their communities in a respective manner, in an appropriate manner, including in an effective manner. So they must build that relationship with their communities, because at the end of the day, they represent communities. And I also, this response also, Madam Speaker, to a question that was asked by David Mukoni. A councillor, especially the ward councillor, they represent the community. It doesn't mean that because the councillor comes from a particular political party, then in the ward, they are responsible to service the party. They are responsible, if a ward has 350,000 people living there, they are responsible to service them. If a ward has 5,000, 10,000 households, they are responsible to service those households, all of them, not particular sections in the community. My last point, Madam Speaker, I responded on the chat to a person that was asking that it's amazing that the budget and the projects are only done in a corner that the councillor has proper support in. And I was saying, so that is understood, councillors are not responsible, one, for appointing contractors. They are not responsible, two, for deciding where projects are going. They are not responsible, three, for the budgets that are given to projects. The role of councillors ends at the CBP and the IDP sessions, where they bring communities. Then the entities and the departments will advertise. In fact, the SIM, there's a system called SIM in the city that identifies critical need programs. Then they allocate budgets or funding to those programs. Then entities and departments themselves will advertise and appoint contractors. Then councillors will be informed once a contract has been appointed and the job has been given, the specifications and the bills of quantities have been given to the contractor. Then the department or the entity will then ask the councillor to call a public meeting, whereby the councillor then will be introduced, one, to the contractor with the community and the job being explained to the councillor and the community. Because I needed to speak about this, Madam Speaker, because part of the problems that we're encountering in our areas is councillors or communities that are saying councillors own companies. That's why that are doing work in their wards. Or in councillors who want to say this company can't work here because it is not a coming from our ward. That is wrong, because the city and its entities will appoint those contractors. It is a competitive thing. Contractors must compete and they must get their jobs. So councillors are not responsible for allocation of any resource. And it will talk also to the appointment of CLOs. Councillors are not involved in that. They are not supposed to be involved in that. So councillors, as my parting short, Madam Speaker, said, councillors represent the community. They must work with the community. They must understand the needs of the community. Then elevate them, escalate them to the departments and the entities in the city. There was a question asking, and I agree with that, and it's in your office, Madam Speaker, that civic education needs to be done in and making communities understand the role of councillors vis-a-vis the national and provincial governments, MPs and MPLs, so that there is a clear distinction on who does what and who doesn't do what. With those words, Madam Speaker, thank you very much. From the comments, it's clear that you need to do round 2 of this session because there is a need for engagement, and I'm happy and thankful for the participants that came here. We will get from your office some of the issues, then we will respond to them as the time goes on. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mfikwe. Wow, that was mouthful. What an information. Information is power indeed. Mr. Itiketseng, there is a person who wrote about the street lights as to where do they report street lights. There's another participant that spoke about the sewer blockage. I know that we will look at the recording, but your parting shot on the service delivery issues.
Look, from where I'm sitting is that we need to be hands-on in addressing the issue of service delivery. And in fact, both from a governance and from a council point of view, the more empathy we have, the more we communicate with our citizenry, the better in ensuring that there is no dagger straw between both council and members of the public. I sometimes think that the thing that makes communities strike are things that with better communication, they would have been averted. I also think that we cannot continue having entities that are servicing the city, but that are abrasive and sometimes are not considerate in dealing with people of the city. I mean, I've listened to the questions of ESCOM. Most of the disruptions and boycotts we're having, it's because of ESCOM. And we spend sleepless nights. They don't go where there are boycotts. They don't go where there are disruptions or protests all the time. And they refuse to go there. Now, our community needs to also understand those sort of dynamics, that banning a street, a tire on a street is not necessarily, it's creating another problem, because ESCOM and the union there would say our members should not go in a volatile environment because there is no, with the SASRIA rules, they are generally not protected, and it delays the speed at which people were going to go in and assist them. But it does not mean our people don't have any other means of weapons to actually raise their matters and be attended to quickly. Draft a petition, engage your councillor, go with your councillor to the said area. I mean, councillors must go with their community to ESCOM if need be. And councillor must go with their community to City Power if City Power is not delivering. But the issue of street lights is directly within the jurisdiction of City Power, even on areas that are serviced by ESCOM. I don't have the number on the top of my head here, but I'm here. They can escalate to myself. They can escalate to Councillor Tsidimpigwe, who's responsible for service delivery. However, what we need all the time is that people must have logged and have a reference number, because that reference number is important. If a query comes to the office of the MMC or through other channels, it normally goes there without a reference number. And we never had the stats that is important for us to be able to pick where the problems are. And for us to, when we're having debates and discussions like this one, we then have raw data that says, these are the number of queries that came in, these are the number of queries that have been resolved. But once you have logged it, the call in and it's not resolved, then you escalate to us with a reference number, and then we're able to put pressure in trying to resolve those sort of things. And communities must invite us, not only when there is a problem, when it is late. I mean, at earlier time, we don't mind, because we may have our pre-planned imbizos to go into areas, but there may be a burning issue at an earlier stage. And the committee may say, we're inviting the MMC, we're inviting his office, we're inviting the speaker, we're inviting the speaker's office or the mayor. And we have an engagement on a continuous basis. We are partners in ensuring that we are having a healthy city. And the more we interact and the more we engage, the better for all of us. We don't need to meet the committee when they're already upset and tensions and emotions are high on a continuous basis. So I don't think there were questions that were specifically related to me, but merely to put up clarity that relates to the entities that are in my department and how I would love to meet with the committees all the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Zonela, without further ado, let me give you an opportunity to wrap up.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think most of the questions that were coming to the ethics are about issues of transparency and issues of councillors who are not reporting back, councillors who are practicing favoritism. Madam Speaker, and the panel and the participants, I think the principle is that communities have got to acknowledge that they are the owners of municipalities and then are therefore entitled to transparent and accountable governance. Councillors have got a responsibility to ensure that they meet the needs of the community by providing services equitable, effectively, and in a sustainable manner. And councillors have got to create avenues and ways of reporting back to communities at least once a quarter. And that is just the least. Once a quarter, the councillor has got to report back to community. If the councillor does not do that, that councillor is in violation of the code of conduct. And communities must use the avenues that are available to them to report and hold those councillors accountable. Part of that is to bring those councillors through the process of the ethics committee. The city has just launched, and I'm taking this from what Dr. Nyati had raised about officials of the city that have made demands of bribes from communities. It is wrong, it is incorrect, and it shouldn't be done. And the officials themselves are not absolved from that responsibility of being accountable. So there are two major milestones that the city has achieved in the past quarter. The first one was the appointment of the disciplinary board. And that is the board that deals with the issues of violation and misconduct of employees. The citizens have got to use that avenue to ensure that officials that go around in communities demanding bribes, switching off electricity so that they can get more work, those officials have got to collect 20 rands and 30 rands from communities. They've got to be reported and they've got to prove. The second issue, that one milestone that we have achieved, was the adoption of the whistleblower policy of the city. Citizens can now call into the city and report and blow a whistle on corruption, on councillors, on anybody that is associated with the city that is malpracticing, that is doing things that are unethical, that are, I lost the words, Madam Speaker, but the point I'm making is that there are reporting avenues and communities have got to utilize those avenues. So I think your office, Madam Speaker, has got that responsibility to ensure that we publicize and make sure that all these avenues are within the reach of communities and they're able to reach out to us so that we can be able to attend to these problems. Otherwise, on our own, we're not going to be able to do it. We've got to be in partnership with the communities in order to achieve this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Advocate. I know you will be shorter than the politicians.
Yes, I will, Speaker. I will try. I'm showing my face because I didn't show it initially. I was rather surprised with the sequencing, but this is how I look like. This is how I look for those who don't know me. Okay. The points I want to respond to, Madam Speaker, are the following. Dr. Nyati asked about turnaround times. I think maybe he didn't hear. We do. He says we must categorize complaints. Of course we do. If somebody's electricity is going to be cut on Friday, or it is cut on Friday afternoon, it will not take us 6 months to resolve that issue. We step in immediately. Okay, and we have done that in the past, and we will continue to do so. So we do categorize complaints. All I was saying is that we will complaints are different, as he understands. we commit to resolving issues within 6 months. Okay, all the issues within 6 months, and I do know that some issues will go beyond the 6 months, but pressing issues, urgent issues, we attend to immediately. Sometimes even before the matter is reported to the city. Sometimes, we are an office of last resort, right? The process should be that you go to the city first and that the city attempt to resolve your problem before you come to the office of the ombudsman. But on urgent matters, we can come in the beginning. If you have my contact details, which I will give them to you now, we are in Braamfontein. For those who want to come physically, COVID regulations permitting, we are in the SAPI building in Braamfontein. Okay, if you want to write to us, the email address is complaints@joburgombudsman.org.za. The website is www.joburgombudsman.org.za. Telephone number 010-288-2800. Okay, so my parting short, Speaker, is basically to remind the community that we are a free service. You don't pay money to access the services of the Office of the Ombudsman. The money has already been paid by you. The city says, here's an office, here's your lawyer, your advocate, somebody who will speak for you. We will pay him and his staff. You don't pay a cent. It's a free service. But you must also remember, give the city the opportunity to resolve your issue. Only when they can't resolve can you come to us, escalate to us. It was mentioned before, the reference numbers are important, even to us. Show us that you have tried and that you have not received satisfaction, and we will assist you. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Information is power. There is more information and there is less time. As I wrap up, there is a citizen that spoke about not having water in Midrand. I think you have seen the statement by Rand Water that 3 medium voltage motors that are used to run the pump has exploded, and which then gives a challenge to Rand Water, and the issue is being investigated. However, I know that Johannesburg Water is working around the clock to make sure that there are water tankers that are delivered in different areas. It is not only affecting Johannesburg, but it's also affecting Ekurhuleni and Tshwane. We hope that this problem will be resolved quickly. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Thank you very, very much to our panelists. You have been wonderful. The information you shared on this platform is really a wow. I can see from the comments, and the comments are saying there is a need for more and more and more civic education, and that is our role. That is what we are doing in the legislature. Civic education, empower our citizens. I think today you are empowered. You know exactly the role of a councillor. So can we please not march and ban the houses of councillors when there are service delivery issues, because that is giving a strain not only to a councillor but also to the families of councillors. These are the tools that we have been given today, the information to escalate service delivery issues. With that said, thank you very much. Please take care. Please mask up, social distancing, wash and sanitize your hands. Let us not go out if there is nothing that compels us to go out. Let us avoid and make sure that we cap the spread of this virus. This virus is dangerous. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. We love you all.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Madam. Well done.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Thanks to the team.
Well done, panel. Thank you.
Very much.
Ralebuha tata Mangwan.
Thank you, guys. Good night.
Thank you, Rangwan. Thank you, Dr. Nyati.
Thank you, Speaker.
That was powerful. Thank you.
Yes.
It was an empowerment.
Yes, no, the new team is on the ball.
Yeah, your broom sweeps clean.
They must
Yes,
be-
ma'am.
Madam Chair, can they
Yeah, my former schoolmates.
collate all the service delivery issues and send to us, please?
Okay, Chairperson Fikwe.
Mm,
Team,
okay.
you are listening? Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm
Thank
listening,
you. Good
Councillors.
night.
You enjoy your evening.
Kodwa ama-BGM wona.
How?
I see
Hayibo,
platform
khuzeka,
BGM
Councillor
era.
Zonela, khuzeka.
I see a wrong platform, wrong platform.
Khuzeka.
Good night, guys.
Come
I'm
good.
going to them.
All right, now that's